Hey, it is Nick and Eric, and we are going to talk about Thompson, which means we're back in the Northeast.
Boom, there you go, bam! Oh.
Now, one thing we know about Northeast Lemons racers is that they're very considerate and they work well with each other.
It's false.
But that's not really necessary at Thompson because the paddock is wide open and roomy.
Pure fiction.
Which doesn't even matter because nobody would park like an anyway.
Wrong.
You can't park that there, mate. Off.
Now, because the paddock is perhaps suboptimal, we kind of really have to crack down on paddock speeding, and luckily judges Manny and Chris were on it. They had a great sign spinning penalty where the team took it very seriously.
Now, Judge Chris and Judge Manny, they're New Yorkers, and what's more New York than insulting each other? They devised a yo mama joke penalty where you had to out yo mama the two judges.
Your mama's so fat when she skips a meal, the stock market falls.
We had some pretty good but not great themes, and we'll talk about that a little bit later in the video, but we'll start with flat ball racing in their Lancia Scorpion. I mean, the car is the theme.
And then we had Stupid Myth Racing in their Ford Pinto. The car is also the theme, but they added an oversized nitrous bottle in the back that they unveiled during tech. That's not legal, and it wouldn't have helped the car anyway because we're pretty sure it was down to its very last pony.
Return of the Packard Racing had a Volkswagen Jetta. Now, these guys failed tech last year at Thompson. They didn't get to turn any laps, but they came back, they passed tech, and their theme was some kind of East Coast tale about a guy who was swallowed by a whale and then came out of some suboptimal orifice of some kind. I don't know. They recreated that somehow. You know, come to think of it, it's kind of butt terrible.
And speaking of butt terrible, when you have a Mazda Miata and your team name is Apex Obsessed, we have concerns, but this team did make up for that by dressing up in dinosaur costumes.
Speaking of Miatas, we had Corky Racing. Their Miata is covered in cork. It is an homage to Mazda's roots as a cork company. Again, some elaborate scripted routine that we couldn't make heads or tails out of, but they were really into it, and they won their third Yokohama Road Mangler Cup. Get in there, stop them from winning 3 in a row. It could be you. Run on Yokohama tires.
Celebrity rappers are always a good starting point for a Lemons theme. There's a lot of obvious choices, so this team surely picked one of those, like Snoop Dogg.
You're wrong.
Or Eminem.
Not this time.
Or Jay-Z.
No way.
No, actually, they picked Rick Ross. And included as part of their theme were directions to each of the nearest Rick Ross-owned Wingstop franchises. And on the trunk, they have a portrait of Rick Ross and Bob Ross, who they claim are related.
And that'll just be our little secret. And if you tell anyone...
On Lemon's Car Spotting, Nick and I have talked about body kits for weird American cars like the Mercury Cougar, and we've said that they probably come not from Wings West like they make for Hondas, but Wings Midwest, and we think we like the Tuna with their Fast and Furious themed Chevy Monte Carlo found the Evo kit from Wings Midwest for their Monte Carlo.
The delightful weirdos from the Lemontarians were back with their Cadillac Fleetwood. During tech, they had something involving a procession of the faithless. It didn't make sense, but it was entertaining.
East Coast Staples 3-Pedal Mafia were there to remind us that colors are not themes, and we're thankful for that. Their pearl-colored Mazda 3 ran pretty well, but, you know, it didn't dance around quite as well as their wording did. But Pearl Power sounds a lot better than white something, whatever. Anyway, the Cressida, always reliable, except in this race, they swapped the transmission in 90 minutes. That was pretty hella sweet.
The Porsche 924 of Crapple Computer was themed up with an Apple theme. They had the Jobs family, including Hans Job, Tug Job, and Rim Jobs. There's an outside chance they made these names up. Anyway, like all Apple products, this 924 planned its own obsolescence and crapped out before the end of the race.
But terrible, let's continue with the Porsche theme, and it was Team 944. Finally, a Porsche 944 with a play on a number. Good job, guys. Anyway, these guys had plenty of fun pretending to be Porsche douchebags. That included all kinds of budget for Axe body spray, and some kind of Red Bull Windex Boilermaker shots or something. It was awful, but you know, excellence was expected.
Team Sticker Bomb had a Volvo 960 covered in stickers. We had some concerns during tech that the array of stickers on this thing was going to cause the corner workers epilepsy, but that turned out to be a self-solving problem because the 960 blew up before it even hit the track. They came back with a different Volvo, no stickers, it passed tech, they raced with that.
Equal parts butt terrible and hell sweet is FRS's Ugly Uncle. Now it's a pair of Toyota Solaras, and they had raced this black one for several years, and the team captain emailed us in 2018 to say, boy, I just don't think this thing has enough power to compete, and I'm gonna bring a nice shiny newer one with a minivan engine that makes 100 more horsepower in it so that I have a chance. You'll never guess what happened next.
Speaking of Toyotas, Soraya Racing had their Lexus SC400. Now the SC400 has a powerful V8, it's very reliable. It also weighs about 6,000 pounds and eats tires and brakes and suspension components like Fat Albert.
Hey, hey, hey!
But this team, they take the good and the bad of SC400 ownership, and they do lemons with the right vibe.
Momrath Racing had basically dominated East Coast racing for several years. Amanda Tolley really has it together, and they added a second car that obviously will have absolutely no problems.
Numbers are hard.
The great globs of oil, Buick, Opal, Isuzu, Holden, so on and so forth. Team Captain Yuri has been driving this car very clearly Class C for many years. This time, the car not only won Class C, it beat most of B, and the only car quicker than it in Class B was the car that won Class B. Somehow, the Buick held together all weekend, super good driving, no penalties. After 15 years, Yuri has finally figured it out.
Heroic Fix went to the Brooklyn Bomb Squad. Now, this team has been around for over a decade, and if you want to watch what they're doing, they have a great YouTube channel. You can watch their wrenching to race stuff after you watch this. They first started racing in 2011 with a Geo Storm before they moved on to an Audi 100, then an Audi 200, and then a Porsche 924. And if you follow the Fibonacci sequence of automotive choices, you obviously arrive at their car for this race, a Volkswagen GTI. They've been kind of a low-key great team for this sequence of cars and how they've done poorly in all of them. And this time it was going to be different. We were going to put them in Class C. They were going to have a chance. And then they torched a head gasket.
Pure fiction.
They torched 2 head gaskets.
Not this time.
They torched 3 head gaskets.
It's totally made up.
They went through the entire stock of head gaskets in New England, and since auto parts stores don't really stock 1983 GTI parts anymore, that meant going to all of the backwoods parts of Massachusetts, finding the guy with more head gaskets than teeth, and then putting it all back together after about a 5-hour round-trip drive. Heroic Fix, easily well earned by the Brooklyn Bomb Squad.
I got screwed went to Spy vs. Spy and their gigantic Dodge Monaco. It's the last of the Chrysler C bodies. We've seen it at several races. At this one, sadly, the giant 440 blew up in spectacular fashion. They finished 7 laps. They got screwed.
The race-specific award was with a little help from my friends, and it went to the SpotAuto.com Tesla Mazda 3. I don't know what any of that means, but the car showed up without a roll cage installed, and the team had basically no mechanical ability. Now, they found a team to help them figure out how to get the cage in. They passed tech. They ran into a bunch of problems. All of their wrenching was done while watching YouTube videos. Shout out to Chris Fix, by the way.
Hey guys!
At various points during the weekend, pretty much the entire garage wandered over to lend a hand. They were never discouraged, they worked their asses off the whole weekend, and they labored just to get the car back on the track for the last few minutes of the race. Very well done. We're looking forward to seeing these guys again.
Judge's choice went to minimum effort. You might remember this team. They have raced two different Chevettes in the past. One had a turbo, another one had a Subaru flat 6 in the back with ATV suspension, basically a Porsche Cayman R if we're counting. This time they showed up with a Chevy S10 with a fantastic glamping world theme. Given their propensity for engine swapping and modifying, we figured it would have a V8, turbo V6 4.3, nope, pushrod 2.2 that sounds like. They were running in the top 25% of the race despite being shockingly slow, but they were clean the whole time. That's the lesson. I love the step backwards in technology that this team has taken. They deserve the judge's choice.
Organizers' choice went to R96 and their Ford Fiesta. This was a new team. They were so excited to be there. They were terrible at the actual racing part, but they fixed their shifter linkage with the most zip ties we've ever seen in sequence. That was hella sweet. We love the attitude. We can't wait to see these idiots again.
The eBay Motors Halloween Meets Gasoline Award went to Hopes n Dreams Racing and their Subaru Impreza. This car is a pretty well-known commodity. The team has been doing some good themes lately, including dressing in drag at New Jersey. This time, they had an incredibly detailed home shopping QVC eBay theme. They had all of these homemade products with special names such as Car Sucks Coffee, Coolant Pops, and Winer's Choice Wine, and each one of these things had an actual scannable barcode that when you scan them did in fact go to eBay. Now, don't forget that the eBay Motors Halloween Meets Gasoline Award comes with $1,000 for the winner, so if you think you could do better than this team, bring your A game to the next event.
That brings us at last to the index of affluency and a familiar name with a familiar car. It was the Tuna Chuckers and their Volvo Amazon. Now, I suppose most people here aren't scholars of ancient Lemons history, but the Tuna Chuckers won one of the very first Index of Affluency awards in 2008 or 2009, who can remember, with a Volvo Amazon. Now this, as it turns out, different Volvo Amazon. I don't know how you find another one. This new one was an homage to their earlier one, and how many times has that ever happened in Lemons? An homage to an old car. Kind of amazing. It has 7 moving parts. They worked all weekend. They finished in the middle of the pack. It looks amazing. The livery was painted by children in the neighborhood. Absolute slam dunk index of affluency for the Tuna Chuckers, and glad to have a Volvo Amazon back on the Lemons track.
That'll do it for Thompson. Thanks for watching. Here's Lemons in a nutshell.
Everyone goes crazy about the Chuckers, man. Nice.